Welcome to something to talk about.
Yeah, really loud.
Welcome to something to talk about.
Welcome to something to talk about. My name is Taco, and I'm doing another character up or a tournament update for you guys. So I got you guys up to 2 weeks away. So I'm gonna do last week's and this week's, and then we're gonna be completely updated. Woo! I'm still a little sick. I filmed that last tournament update and a few other videos on Friday, and I was not feeling great then. I'm feeling a little better this time, so I think I can get away with not having a cough drop in my mouth, which I'm sure annoyed a lot of people. All right, what is this? That's this. So we got weeks 12 and 13, the Stormlands and Riverlands. That's all the way up till today. We did the poll for the Riverlands finals like today. It's still going on. But I think it's decided enough that I can do it. I really hope I never get to a final that's like 50-51 and I'm like, oh my god, I don't want to film this yet. Like, yeah. So what is this? Pause this to read it. I'm not going to read it all out, but it's my big tournament that's going to take 18 and a half weeks. And we made it all the way to week 13. Woo! We've been going on for a long time. Started at the beginning of March. We're in June. It's June 2nd. Holy shamola. All right, let's get through Stormlands. So we very Baratheon heavy. It is not my bracket that has the most from one family. That's the Crownlands. It's like pretty much all Targaryens. But this one's pretty close. 4 Baratheons. Stannis versus Balon Swan. Renly versus Brienne of Tarth. Lionel Baratheon versus Robert Baratheon. Young. I also just wrote Prime. And then Richard Horp versus Roland Storm. And yeah, so let's just jump into it. Stannis Baratheon versus Balon Swan. So Balon won this one. So let's check out our top comments. J-Med said, gotta give Stannis a little credit, even though strategy is his game. He comes from a family of that typically have an affinity for fighting. I would give him the edge over some lords like Jon Arryn or Hoster Tully or Tywin Lannister or Robb Stark. But Balon is one of the few who achieved his position out of merit. Yeah, by that they mean Balon Swan might just be a Kingsguard member and a modern Kingsguard member, which doesn't really mean much. We saw how good Aerys Oakheart did in here. Very badly. Boris Blount, like, go back to the Kingsguard bracket. None of the modern Kingsguard guides did pretty good except for Jaime with 2 hands, right? And he wasn't even in that one. He was in Westerlands. So yeah, but he's not, Balon Swan's cut from a different cloth. He's not Boris Blount, Marin Trant, Osmond Kettleblack. He's actually pretty good. So he makes a little bit of a run here. Flippin' Flitz. Sorry. Love that name. I have to be biased and say Stannis wins. Stannis. Love it. And then Roman says Stannis isn't a fighter like Ned Stark or Tywin Lannister. He's a battle commander. Swan is an extremely capable fighter, as we saw on the Blackwater, and even Jaime holds him to high regard. And Hota believes he would be hard to fight, unlike Aerys. Yeah, when Hota, I believe the chapter is the Watcher, like, sizes up Balon Swan, he's like, yeah, he ain't like the last one. Aerys was like, and he's like, maybe not. Balon looks like a real fighter. So yeah, Balon takes this, goes into round 2, the semifinals, 60-40. So, if pure popularity can win any fight, it could have been this one, and he didn't. Because I just know people love Stannis. So I think that's how he got 40%. Okay, Renly versus Brienne. You're welcome. I was so happy with myself when I put this in here. Irish Potato Thief. I want to say something really quick about Irish Potato Thief. You and Max and a few other people, Lord Taryn. I shouldn't call people out because I should call out a lot of people. Roman, a lot of other people, but specifically Max and Irish Potato Thief were like, there was these last 2 weeks, there was a few like 50 comment ones, and a few of them were just like those two guys going back and forth. There were other people involved in it. Sorry if I'm not including you. But what I want to say, I'm specifically talking to Irish Potato Thief. Irish Potato Thief. Let me tell you something. I want to include you more, but you usually do those huge paragraphs, and I'm like, I want to have 3 people's comments. If I put yours and then 2 other people, it doesn't work out. So I have to grab your like medium-sized ones, and those are the smaller ones you do. So keep that in mind, Irish Potato Thief. You're less in this one, and it's not because I don't like your comments. I do. I like everybody's comments. I want everyone to keep commenting. I think it's amazing. The amount of back and forth that this one has been, we've been getting later on in the tournament here. Huge discussions, and people who I've never really noticed in the comments before have really kind of made themselves known, and they're really going, and it's super awesome. And yeah, but I just want Irish to know you're really funny and you're great. But if you want to be mentioned here, make them shorter. Or if you don't care, if you don't get the shout out, whatever, make them as long as you want, because they are starting a lot of discussions. So do what you want. All right. But I did include you here. Underrated aspect of this fight is that Brienne would never be able to hurt Renly. She's too head over heels for him. But in this hypothetical, she could just flip a switch or have no provisions attachments to him. Previous attachments to him. Renly is getting turned into fruit salad with extra peaches. That's an amazing comment. I agree. George said, Brienne, I can't hurt Renly. Stannis, sweep the leg. That's pretty good. And then Don Rob Port said, easy Brienne win. Renly's been sparring Loras for years, and it only took 30 seconds for Brienne to beat him. You kind of got a point. I like that one a lot. All right. So she moves on. Then we got Lionel versus Robert. This had a lot of discussions going on. So Anthony Joss said, every time I see fantasy matches from A Song of Ice and Fire, everyone is so hyped about Bobby. Just because of that, I go with Lionel. And because I think he would really have a short shot at winning this. It's a coin toss. They're basically the same warrior. I believe I just commented like, one carries the sword, one carries the hammer. But yeah, like that's really the only difference. J-Med said, I need the meme of Pam saying it's the same picture. Yeah, that's pretty funny. It's actually so funny that I went and got it to be ready for this, because somebody nailed it, right? Lionel and Robert, yes, the same picture, except for a hammer. That's all I got. Where am I? Yeah, here we go. I clicked the right one. Yeah, no, I had to get the Pam picture ready for that. Robert, in my opinion, is the strongest ever. Cyan Duck said. I believe that got a couple like, no, you're wrong arguments. He said swords are kind of meh against plate armor, and hammers are brilliant against it. So Robert is definitely winning. Yeah, that led to a lot of argument in the, well, not argument, but discussion in the chat. It's like maybe in real life, but maybe not in the fantasy world, but whatever. I mean, people can go off what they want. But yeah, thank you. And all right, let's keep going. Richard Hort versus Roland Storm. Man, I loved this matchup. I hope that some of the like hardcore book readers were like, oh yeah, because this is like a gritty matchup. You know, you got like the Kingsman, Roland Storm, who's like everyone, and like Cersei and everybody else is like, dude, Richard Storm or Roland. I might keep calling him Richard. Roland Storm's a killer. He's just a seasoned monster killer. And then Richard Hort is like also that. Like he seems a little more chill, but even Stannis is like, Richard just likes killing. He's just a killer. So you have like a Queensman from the Stormlands who's just like, I just love killing. And then you have a Kingsman who's like, I just love killing. So I was like, put him in. I loved it. And Roland just 3/4 of the heck yeah. Lord Terran to Texas. There you are. Roland Storm would trash Horp Like a tornado in a trailer park. Heck yeah. Grant Campbell. That's a kick-ass pairing. Although Horp just loves killing, people seem generally afraid of the Bastard of Night song. Rolling takes it. Yeah, that's true. I like that this whole fight's pretty much just on reputation. It's so sweet. And then Jace guys said, his matchup or this matchup for me is picking who I dislike more, which is obviously the ambitious psycho killer Horp. Dude want to be Ramsay for R'hllor so bad. I have to disagree. Like, he definitely loves killing, but isn't Clayton Suggs the Ramsay for R'hllor more? Clayton Suggs is like, we should burn a guy. Like, that's Clayton. Richard Horp is just, he doesn't really come off that way as much. Everyone just kind of says it about him. Like, I don't really get the sadistic thing from Richard Horp. He's kind of more quiet, but everyone else is like, dude, Richard just loves to kill. I think it's Clayton Suggs, who I already had in the Hedge Knight like bracket, but yeah. But still, it's pretty cool. The Ramsay for R'hllor is a great line, great title. I love it. Okay, moving on to Balon Swan and Brienne of Tarth. Stop looking at me, Swan. All right, Taryn, Texas said, and they're at the straightaway, and Beauty beats the Swan by a bite mark and a nose. There you go. And then we'll go. Caleb Fry said, I really feel like the show is determining this. I just want to say characters speak out about Swan. I feel like he should win this matchup. Yeah, anytime there's a really popular character, and not only a very popular character, but a very popular show character, because I do think Brienne, has transcended popularity. Like, her book counterpart is loved, and then her show counterpart is loved. And not a lot of people's show counterparts are loved, but there's a few that it's like, I look back and I'm like, yeah, they did Brienne right. They should have did her story. But, even though Gwendolyn Christie doesn't look like, she's gorgeous, so not quite Brienne, but still, like, size, everything else, I buy it. Fan favorite, right? I think that does, as much as I wish it didn't, and other people wish it didn't, there are people who are really popular and loved are gonna have an advantage in these tournaments, because at the end of the day, it's about voting, right? And that's why Stannis got 40% when he had no business getting 40%. And if he would have won, I wouldn't have been surprised, because everyone loves Stannis, and a lot of people, most people, love Brienne. I mean, she's one of my favorite POV characters, hands down, and her chapters in Feast are some of my favorites. So, yeah, as much as it kind of stinks that people have, like, the reputation helps them a lot, or not reputation, but their popularity helps them a lot. It is just a necessary evil of the format that we're doing here. Yeah. And then we got, was it Trevorus Wilson? Sorry, I'm bad at reading these. In my eyes, if anyone dons the armor of the plot armor in a Song of Ice and Fire lore, it'd have to be Dunk and his kin. Yeah, you're not wrong. They're the most Arthurian knights in shining armor, even more so than the Danes in my eyes. I think that Arthur Dane has the thickest plot armor, especially popularity, of anybody in this bracket. And I think literally the only time we've really heard him fight besides the Smiling Knight is losing against Ned and his men. Well, of course, we don't know how he lost. I'm not going to really knock that against him, but I do think that Arthur Dane has a way bigger plot armor, honestly, popularity-wise in this bracket. But Dunk kind of struggles throughout the show, or his books. Like, he's not an elite fighter, but we know that he becomes one, and everyone just loves Dunk. And that's why he made it to the playoffs. He knocked his way through the Hedge Knight bracket. And yeah, Brienne's got that same amount of love, but will she make it out of this one? Well, she made it out of this fight with Balon Swan, so we know that much. All right. Robert in his prime versus Roland Storm. Well, this was a slobber knocker. Holy crap, 95-5. Taryn in Texas. I got to give this one to Bobby B. I mean, I respect Roland Storm. However, Bobby B is a beast. I just had to keep alive ones that just say Bobby B. Irish Potato Thief. The B in Bobby B is for bonk. Bonk. Bonked him. I bonked him, guys. Thanks, Bob. Bobby B and that Warhammer are going to take this one. And then the last one, oh, sorry, that was J Sky. And then Diego P said, I have mass respect for Roland, but Bobby B is Bobby B. No way he can lose in his prime. There were a few people who really hated how much Bobby did in this bracket, and I got a lot of comments pretty much every time. Every one of Bobby's, and now I'm calling him Bobby B. Every one of Robert Baratheon's polls had like a crap ton of people arguing over how good he really is, and well, you know, the numbers speak for themselves, 95-5 here. So let's get to his fight, and that number also speaks for itself. I was kind of blown away by this. Robert, without even thinking, said user, and yeah. Okay. Diego P. Robert. Brienne uses her size and strength to beat her opponents. She can do that here. Robert is not just taller, but way stronger, and Brienne is not prepared to fight somebody with a hammer. In her fight against Jaime, she wears him down, patiently blocking his strikes. However, that strategy is useless against blunt weapons, as those strikes take a tone on your arm and body. And also, if you just get one big hit with a hammer, especially somebody as strong as Robert, it's like getting hit by a truck. And then Max said, so another thing with Max, just like Irish Potato Thief, is I wanted to bring up your comments too, because I think you really do well. But as you see, they're always like huge paragraphs. I'm glad I found a really small one because compared with you guys' really big ones. Hey, Max said, I got Robert, but it's closer than people think, especially now that Brienne wields Oathkeeper. This is like the first time a Valyrian steel sword didn't get brought up in every comment. Brienne relies on her strength a lot. That would work on most people, but there's a few guys like Robert who can not only match her strength, but probably surpasses it as well. On a side note, I think people, including Max, forget how big Brienne is. Renly is a big guy himself, probably around 6'4", 6'5", at 230 pounds. And Brienne is stated to be significantly heavier and noticeably taller than him, which probably puts her around 6'7" or 6'8", 260 pounds. So I can actually settle that a little bit. She's called 6.5 feet tall, so she is really friggin' tall. But the one time her height is spoken, it says 6.5 feet. But I was really happy Brienne made it to the finals here. I was not happy by that margin. I think it's a little bogus. I think you guys are smoking Cracula here, because if we look at Bobby's other fights, where we like 21 Lionel, and then 5 Roland. So Roland did the worst, but man, you really, wow, 7 to 93. That actually makes me think that Bobby's gonna make a pretty decent run in the entire playoffs if he beats over another, not only fan favorite, but actually a really good fighter like Brienne of Tarth. If he beats her with that margin, I think he's got a chance here. And we'll look at the playoffs bracket when we're done. Moving over to the Riverlands, we got Brendan Tully, Jason Mallister, and then we got Titos, Blackwood, and then Jonos Bracken. There's a typo here that said Janos. Somebody let me know. Benjica Blackwood versus Otho Bracken, and then Hostine Frey versus Harwin Breakbone Strong. First fight we had was the Blackfish versus Jason Mallister. Max said both men are renowned warriors that prove themselves in numerous battles, but we don't have any specific details about the Blackfish. Well, we're specifically told that Mallister killed 3 of Rhaegar's bannermen, and that he also killed Godric Greyjoy, repealing the Ironborn invasion. So I were forced to pick one, I go with Malister. See, that's really good reasoning there. And after I read that, I was like, yeah. I think it's because this is another one that's reputation. I think the fact that Jaime and other people consider Blackfish such a good fighter, and knowing that he fought all the way back through the War of the Nine Penny Kings, and he also fought in Robert's Rebellion and stuff like that, I think that's what gives him clout. And in fan favorite, again, goes a long way. And Bobby B is a fan favorite. I love Jason Malister. I did a video on Jason Malister, and it did really well. But I just don't hear people talking about legendary older knights like they do with Jason Malister. And that's unfortunate because that's why I paired him against Blackfish, because he was the other older, really seasoned legendary knight from the Riverlands. And yeah, just 11%. That's all he gets. All right, I did this one less because they were fighters and more because it was just funny. Looking back, there are probably some other Riverland characters I should have had in here. I don't need to talk about it. I don't like telling you guys what my plans could have been because you start saying, "Where'd you go with that?" I wish I could have. But because these guys aren't really fighters, but I really wanted a Bracken Blackwood. But then I ended up getting a good Bracken Blackwood the next fight. So, but whatever, it is what it is. Best laid plans of mice and men, right? This is still a fun matchup, though. Jonas Bracken, Tytos Lannister. Tytos beat him 81% to 19. Grant Campbell, I think the fandom will be so biased just by George's writing. Yeah, I was kind of surprised. I actually thought the Blackwood Bracken feud in the fandom was actually closer to 50-50. That is not correct, man. People love the Blackwoods. If I learned anything, it was like Agar Rivers arguing with everybody here. All right. So then, yeah, Max, their skill at arms isn't noted on. So just based on physical descriptions, I'll go with Jonos. Tytos is really tall and very thin, just like all Blackwoods. Well, Jonos is really muscular and tall. Jamie said Jonos had arms and shoulders that would make a blacksmith jealous, so he's a physical specimen. I think a lot of Brackens are physical specimens for sure. I do think we hear a little bit. We do know of like Tytos kind of turning the tide at the Battle of the Camps, which was right after the Battle of the Whispering Wood, right? So when they go to Tytos retreated into Riverrun with a bunch of men during the siege. So when they started attacking the people sieging Riverrun, Tytos ran a fight from inside a Riverrun out to the Battle of the Camps. That's really cool. So he is big part of battles. We just don't hear any numbers, right? We don't hear, oh, he killed 15 people at the Battle of the Camps. No, we just know that we know that he pretty much kind of led a bunch of people in like the vanguard in the middle of the battle during the Battle of the Camps. So yeah. Lower Terran in Texas, Blackwoods always destroy Brackens. It's a circle of life. Not always. A coyote turd falls on the ground and a Bracken grows. A weirwood is stronger than a coyote turd. Oh man. Otho Bracken, who I'm about to get to, the Brute of Bracken did kill a Blackwood, all right? So they do happen. Max said the Brute of Bracken would have actually made a great champion for the Riverlands. This is easily on par with other winners like Great John and Victorian. Shame that Bloody Ben's going to win based off people voting who they like better and not actually who's a better warrior. I have to agree a little bit with Max just because I do think that the Brute should have won. Bloody Ben, even though how good of a fighter he had to be to win as many battles as he did, and then such a good commander, he's like 12. And then he gets a little older, and we don't really know what he did later on, right? The Brood of Bracken is famously this gigantic knight who just crushed this dude's head in through armor with a blunted weapon, and everyone's kind of afraid of him during Dunk and Egg times. I also think that the fact I couldn't get any art of the Brood of Bracken didn't help me at all. There just isn't any. And I do love the Brood of Bracken. I wish I could have actually got some art for him. But I do agree that I think Otho should have won this. Diogo P. Wow. What's going on? This is just not right. This shouldn't even be close. The Brood of Bracken would never lose to a weakling such as Bloody Ben. Bl- Blimey, it's such rubbish. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing again, Diego. And then everyone I got is just angry. A lot of the comments were angry in this one. Blackwood's, and then Igor still said Blackwood's winning because Brackens don't get enough respect. They get no respect at all. Yeah, I think it's a tie. It's probably a combination of Otho being less known than Benjicott. Benjicott is just really loved too because he's a really lovable, like this little kid. He's part of the lads of River Run, the River Run lads. Him and a couple Muppets, right? And anyone who read Fire and Blood are like love him. And in Otho's kind of mentioned in the background of two Dunk and Egg things, right? Of like two different Dunk and Egg books that are like, oh, and Otho, you don't even get to see him. He's not in the comic at all. I think possibly, but we're not really sure. So that's why I didn't use that picture. So Otho was just a smaller character, and I didn't have any art for him, which I do think actually hurt him. And Benjicott's kind of just loved. So yeah, and of course, like I said, I think the Blackwoods are just more loved than Brackens. I'm starting to turn my contrarianisms turning me to the other side. What's up, Agor Bitter still? I'm about to join your camp. No, I won't. I like the Blackwoods still. I like them both. I try to stay neutral. And then Hostine Frey versus Harwin Breakbone Strong. This is another one where I was like, come on, guys. Hostine, what's up? I like the typo. Okay, I had a few typos here. This one had the biggest one. Wait, where was I? Oh, wait, no, it's the next one had my biggest typo. But this one has a pretty big typo because I typed Hawin. So, Boston accent, get in the car, Hawin. I like how the typo implies Harwin has a Boston accent, and now I accept that in my headcanon. I'm proud of you, man. I forgot my name said a lot of people talk about Broken Bones nickname, which is more of a joke by Mushroom than something that is to indicate actual skill. Additionally, it took one of the greatest knights ever to do it. Funny because Cole didn't make it as far into his bracket as Harwin did. I just want you guys to know you guys kind of did Cole dirty. All right. Additionally, it took one of the greatest knights ever to do it. On top of that, I know he was in a harder bracket. Shut up. On top of that, by the depiction of his injuries, it would appear that it took several blows to break his collarbone and his elbow, which automatically, speaking, are impossible to break in the same single blow from a Morning Star. This paints a picture of a knight with extremely high pain tolerance. This fight is bound to be a slugger match between the heavy hitters. It gives my vote to the one with the superior durability and endurance. And then Brody Day says, is House Joke afraid of you guys? Oh my God. Is House Frey a joke to you guys? And I said, yeah. Everyone but Hosty. Yeah. I needed to have a Frey. It wouldn't be Riverlands without a Frey. And Hostine, I was surprised, man. But I did not know the amount of love that Harwin Breakbone Strong's going to get. He makes a giant run here. And I was really surprised. I thought everyone was going to be like, oh, Broken Bone? And Hostine's considered like this gigantic Frey. You know, Sir Stupid. But they call him dumb if they don't say that he's weak. He's super strong. But people have brought up in the comments besides this that like when like Jamie and other people talk about the biggest and strongest knights, you know, the Mountain, Great John, these names get brought up. Lyle Craycall, right? No one brings up Hostine Frey. So maybe he isn't that big and strong. Maybe he's just big and strong for a Frey. Like, you know, like the biggest weasel. He's still a weasel, though. Yeah, so Harwin, welcome to the tournament. You will be staying for a minute. All right. Brendan Blackfish versus Titos Blackwood. I didn't even notice. Somebody even told me, and I didn't know what they were talking about. I didn't even put Titos in the name. I screwed it up. Man, really bad typos. Hawin, and then now just Blackfish versus, maybe that's why he lost so bad. I think we fumbled. So Irish Potato Thief says, I think we fumbled the Riverlands pretty hard, folks. That being said, this one's probably right. Yeah, I think it went weird. I think that Otho should have stayed in. But you know, it is what it is. So Lord Terrace to Texas, and he had a lot of people who agreed. I believe Max after that said, hey, as long as Harwin stays in the fight and doesn't lose to Benjakat, he's like, if Benjakat beats Harwin, we completely failed. All right. And then yeah, Lord Terra in Texas said, who else would be more suited to defeat a Blackwood? A Blackfish. Absolute one and only. Muhaha. Yeah. So, some what is it? Somewhat annoyed llama. There you go. Somewhat annoyed llama says Titus Blackwood got beaten so badly that even his name was knocked out of the matchup. See, somewhat annoyed llama told me, and I was like, "What do you mean? There's still a Blackwood?" And they're like, "No, the name in the title." And I was like, "I don't know what we're talking about." And then I'm like making this, and I'm like, "Oh, so dumb. I'm a dumb. I didn't even name him. Oh my god. All right. Well, I named him, but I left it on the top. You guys know what I'm talking about." So, Bloody Ben versus Harwin Strong. Yeah, Bloody Ben almost pulled this one out. Got close. So, Basilius, thank you. Well, I've loved Bloody Ben Blackwood and respect his ability as a warrior and a commander. I have to give it to Harwin Strong. Ben was a fierce fighter and a very brave man, but Harwin Strong is simply on another level. Strong was exactly as his name indicates. Strong. Likely the strongest in the Seven Kingdoms at the time. Also, Harwin Strong was a good enough fighter to be the sworn shield to the heir of the Iron Throne, despite there being a Kingsguard for that very purpose. Well, you know, they also pulled strings because they were probably pulling each other's strings, but yeah. And then Irish Potato Thief said, wow, 2 first men boys. Small one doesn't have a fictional rib cage after this fight. Yeah, I think Bloody Ben would live up to the name of being super bloody after this fight. And break bones will probably break more bones than he gets broken. Diego P said, no, it should have been the Brood of Bracket versus Howard Breakbones. Why do the Blackwoods keep ruining everything? Ah! Yeah. I agree. He says that ruining everything I love. I hope he's not Blackwoods aren't ruining everything you love. I hope that you have like a good life. Like you keep losing your jobs because Blackwoods keep screwing it up. like your wife leaves you because of Blackwoods. No! I hope it's just specifically ruining this tournament, Diego, not your actual life. I hope everything you love is a bit of an exaggeration. I hope they just ruined the Riverlands bracket because they're out after this bracket, right? I mean, he knocked the last one out. We're good. But the fact that they made that big of a run, especially Benjakat, kind of really surprised me. All right, let's talk about the finals, and then we're going to do look at the playoff picture. And yeah, so Brennan, Blackfish versus Breakbones. Blackfish versus Breakbones. Taryn in Texas said, sometimes it just takes a Blackfish to break bones. Good one, Taryn. Ryan Williams, what's up, buddy? Said, as much, oh, yeah, it's a quote. Much as I would love the chance to take that golden sword away from you and cut out your black heart, your promises are worthless. I would gain nothing from your death but the pleasure of killing you, and I would not risk my own life for that. As a small risk that may be. The Blackfish talking crazy to Jamie face to face. Harwin got his collarbone taken by Crispin. Yeah, I believe Ryan immediately was talking crap. Like I didn't bring it up, but was like, really, breakbones, guys? We're going with breakbones. Somebody did go, yeah, but that's crippled Jamie. He's talking crap too. I think you add that hand to Jamie, and Blackfish is still gonna be like, dude, you suck. Get out of here. So yeah, I like that quote. I should have had more, but people were still commenting when I like made these, so I didn't really have a lot of comments to go through. Now there are more, so maybe I should have went back and changed it right before I started, but I didn't. So yeah, Blackfish took it. So here you guys go. We got the updated playoff picture, and my computer will not die this time, so I get to just talk to you guys. Great John versus Mance Raider, Arthur Dane versus Corn Halfhand, Smiling Knight versus Duncan the Tall, Victorian Greyjoy versus Jamie Lannister with 2 hands, Oberyn Martell versus Garen Tyrell. That's going to be amazing. Lynn Corbray versus Robert Baratheon. Holy crap, that's going to be great. And then Brendan Tully versus most likely a Targaryen coming out of the Crownlands. Man, I'm excited for next week, guys. Get hyped for the Crownlands one. It's going to be good. All right. That's all I got for you guys. My daughter should probably be done with her nap soon. I'm just squeezing this in when my kid's napping. So I'm enjoying this tournament. I hope you guys are. 13 weeks in. Oh, it's like a full football season, man. Hope you guys are enjoying it. All right. Keep voting, keep commenting, and keep these passionate discussions going because they're amazing. So, yeah. Peace.